Welcome back to The Talk Tonight. Our continuing coverage of the David Renz admission continues this evening. His guilty pleas now save the 10-year-old child victim of the agony of having to relive that horrific night in court. She will not have to testify because there will be no trial and David Renz is off to prison. But what is the court procedure for young child victims? For some perspective on that tonight, we're joined by Jamie Ryan from the Mcmahon Child Advocacy Center. And I think first and foremost, you know, people sort of always cringe when they hear that there's any child involved in anything like this. I know that you can't talk specifically about this case, but for a child who goes through something traumatic, is it best for them to go through the process of testifying or not, or does it depend on the situation and depend on the child?
I mean, typically we would like to see the assistant district attorney try to settle it, you know, to plead it out so the child doesn't have to go through that process. Yeah. There's no doubt it can be incredibly stressful for anyone, an adult, but definitely for kids. So if we can avoid doing that, that's definitely what we would like. So,
and if you can't avoid it, in this case had to move forward to trial, and you know, in our system, the accuser has the right, or they're going to be in that same courtroom space together. That's how it works, right?
Yes. Yes.
So how do you help a child get through that?
Well, again, the assistant district attorneys, they are wonderful working with these kids. They're specialty trained to sit down with them, make them comfortable, have the conversation. Oftentimes they'll bring them into the courtroom ahead of time so that they're aware of what it's going to look like when they actually do have to go and testify. Let them sit in the chair they'll be testifying in, let them even sit in the juror's chair just to see their perspective, and you know, they'll do role play, ask some questions, so that way the child gets a sense of what's going to happen on that day.
What about special exemptions made for children? Maybe putting a cover so that they don't have to actually come face to face with this suspect, or maybe doing it at a teleconference so they don't actually have to be in the space. Are there any kind of exceptions that are made?
Typically, as far as I'm aware, they don't do that, and that's why it's just so important that if a child should have to testify, that they have an incredibly strong support system, you know, people letting them know how brave they are, how proud they are of them, and so that way they know that they have those people there.
What kind of counseling takes place at Mcmahon Ryan for child victims of crimes, not this one specifically, but in general when they've gone through something like that? Does the counseling make a difference immediately and in the long run too?
I mean, absolutely it makes a difference. I think, you know, for anyone who, you know, may have been a victim, they should get into counseling. You know, at Mcmahon Ryan, our counselors are trained specifically in working with kids under the age of 18 who are victims of sex abuse. It's a specialized kind of training, and our staff is really wonderful in working with them.
Jamie, in your time working there, what have you learned about the resiliency of people and children specifically?
I'm always amazed by kids and what they go through, and how even in the most horrific situations are still there with a smile on their face, and as long as they have, you know, that support, I really think it was the community coming together. Our kids are going to be okay.
No, thank goodness. It's good to hear.
And what about the media coverage? What sort of impact? Because when we have these big cases, obviously we cover them ad nauseum. What sort of impact does that have on victims when they see, you know, and hear, or are they usually shielded from most of it?
I don't know about the victims per se, but I will say that I think it's excellent that these stories are in the media, so that way it's educating the community, so that way as a community we can work to try to prevent this from happening again.
We don't want it to be secretive.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie Ryan from Child Advocacy Center, Mcmahon Ryan. We appreciate you stopping at that expertise today.
As always, thank you for participating in the talk tonight. Remember, you're always invited to join in the conversation. Leave comments on our Facebook page and our website. We'd love to hear from you.